Hey everybody, welcome back to this video series where I am taking the lean startup theory and I'm applying it to a real life business opportunity. Now I'm Dalton, I'm the lead instructor at the Side Startup Club, and if you want to follow along and watch me launch this business step by step, then be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel below.
Hey everybody, welcome to the market research segment of the Side Startup Club. Now, a big theme of the Side Startup Club is I'm always going to practice what I teach. And I'm going to try to stick with one business idea throughout the whole business model development process so that you can see each element actually apply to a real world example. Now, the problem and business idea that I'm going to work on is I want a hyper-localized travel platform for the Oaxacan Mexican market. A lot of tourist destinations that are well developed, especially in Europe and the US, they have various travel platforms that help tourists find out all the information they need regarding activities, restaurants, hotels, transportation, etc. And I think that the solutions on the market, from what I saw, looked a little bit weaker. There weren't as many options as some of the more developed tourist markets. So that's the business idea. It's not very well defined, and that's okay. We're going to get into the market research, and that's going to help us define exactly what that product looks like and how it makes money. So jumping into it, guys, this is all about the market research and the objectives that we're trying to accomplish in this video, not necessarily in this order, but we want to understand the market and the segments that make up that market. We want to know our customer avatar, we want to know how big our market is, and we want to look at the different solutions on the market. So starting with some high-level market research, I wanted to know how many tourists actually came to Oaxaca, but that information wasn't readily available to me. I do know that 32 million tourists come to Mexico. The majority of them are international. They're not Mexicans coming to Oaxaca or coming to other destinations in Mexico. And I know that Mexico is becoming extremely popular as an international destination, and Oaxaca actually was ranked number 2 for Mexican destinations. I still don't know how big that actual target market of Oaxacan tourists is, but we're going to find that out. First, market segments. So a lot of tourists are coming to Mexico, and we want to kind of segment this market. We can do it geography, we can do it by behaviors, by demographics, different ways that we learned previously in the videos. So we have Mexican tourists, US tourists, we have Spanish speaking, we have English speaking. We have tourists that are very into the luxury services and luxury 5-star hotels, and we have budget travelers who are very price conscious. We have travelers that really look for a local experience and they kind of want to assimilate in with how Mexicans live their life. And then you have travelers that kind of don't really want to leave their comfort zone. They want to take private transportation, they want to take 5-star hotels and so forth. You have travelers that are part of a family, and you have younger single travelers. You have traditional travelers, or kind of like old school travelers, that are going to use travel agents, the hotel concierge, and things of that nature. And then you have the more modern travelers who are using apps and the internet and blogs and constantly using their phone and Google to figure out what to do. You have do-it-yourself travelers who will figure it out on their own, and they want to take their own walking tour. They don't need to sign up for stuff. They'll figure out their own taxi. And then you have the full-service travelers who want everything kind of spoon-fed to them. Along those lines, you have safety-obsessed travelers, and you have the risk-takers. You have activity-oriented travelers that are trying to jam-pack their day full of activities like ziplining and going on boats and so forth. And then you have the travelers that just kind of want to chill out, walk around the city, get some cocktails, and go out to eat. You have people who want to do the extreme sports and ziplining, and then you have the people who might want to just sit in the city and do museums and walking tours and stuff. So that's how I fragmented the market off the top of my head. And I don't know exactly what my target is in this market, but I do know I want to focus on US tourists because there's a lot of them. I want to focus on English-speaking tourists because my Spanish is not so good. And I know I want to focus on modern travelers because I want an internet-oriented solution. I don't want to start a business that is being a local travel agent. So that's all I know right now. And in order to figure out what my target is, I'm going to have to do a little more research. So before I get into the competitor analysis, I wanted to see what is the market size of these English-speaking international tourists who use the internet. And I use Google keywords everywhere to just give me a little more insight to this. So these are some of the phrases I've searched. Best hotels, 590 a month. Mezcal tours, Oaxaca, 260 people a month searching this. Best restaurants in Oaxaca, 720. Things to do in Oaxaca, 1,000. My conclusion was a lot of those people probably typed in those phrases, multiple phrases per one tourist. But I would say there's 1,000 to 2,000 English-speaking tourists that use the internet that are traveling to Oaxaca every single month. Now, when I type in those phrases, I'm paying attention to who's at the top of Google because they're probably going to be some of my biggest competitors. You have TripAdvisor, which really focuses on hotels and restaurants, but they're also starting to get into like things to do. You have visitmexico.com, which is very oriented towards here are the different activities and attractions. They don't really list hotels. They don't really list restaurants, so they're kind of the opposite of TripAdvisor. And then you got Lonely Planet, which right away I was like, this is probably going to be my biggest competitor because they do hotels and restaurants, but they also do activities. And it's not always information overload. They kind of say, here's what we think is the best. And I think that's really valuable. And they also give you some tips on here's some things you can do for free. And also here are some activities that we have with our partners and you can book it through us. So they are a massive player that I'll need to pay attention to. You have Viator, which I learned was a TripAdvisor company, and they are extremely focused on activities and attractions. You can book directly through their website and they take a commission. You have Oaxaca.com, which is just like a ton of information, but you can't really book anything and it's not very well organized. The first thing that jumps out to me is it looks like this website was actually developed in 1995 and never updated, so not much of a concern for me. I think most savvy internet users would bounce off this website quite quickly. GetYourDie.com, that's kind of like a competitor to Viator, but as you can see here, they have a range of activities from shuttle services to dinners to different tours that you can do, and you can book directly through their website, so it's very user-friendly and service-oriented. Again, not a lot of focus on finding the best hotel or the best restaurant necessarily. Here's another website, not very user-friendly. It looks like they're kind of a one-stop shop. You have hotels, you have activities, you have tourist attractions. Oaxaca Notes, again, this is more information-oriented. It's kind of like a bunch of blogs compiled together. They don't actually offer any booking services, and it's a bit of information overload for me. And then here's a really new, interesting, up-and-coming solution. It's not so popular yet, but it's definitely, a force to be reckoned with in the future. So you always want to know those type of players. And basically, this is a software that integrates to TripAdvisor and Google, and it plans your entire itinerary for you based on a few of your inputs. Now, they are missing the restaurant feature entirely. They don't recommend which restaurants to go, but they do recommend free activities and paid activities, and they do it in a really user-friendly way that brings a lot of value to the customer. A little adrift.com is kind of like a series of blogs. And so that kind of completes my main competitor analysis. After that, I really just saw blog after blog after blog, and they were ranked pretty low in Google. So now what I wanted to do is determine, of those players, which ones are my direct competition, my indirect competition, and kind of a hybrid between the two. And I think without a doubt, Lonely Planet is the biggest concern I have about starting a travel platform, because it's really well known. It's ranked at the top of Google, and it's a bit of a one-stop shop. They do hotels, restaurants, they do activities. It's not information overload. They kind of have a blog element to it, but also they list tons of hotels. So they are just a very diversified player that's doing it all, and they do it quite well. Visit Mexico.com, again, they're ranked very high on Google. They have information about attractions and also little information just about the city themselves, and they have tons of tours and activities you can do. So those are the two main players that are very direct competition for this idea. And then the other player, even though they're not direct competition, there's such a massive player in this space is TripAdvisor. So a lot of what I think might be my target customers are always going to use TripAdvisor instead of my solution, or in addition to my solution. So I want to pay attention to them. And the indirect competition, even though it's indirect, you always need to pay attention to indirect just as much. You have local travel agents on the ground here. You have online travel agents that will email and get on the phone with you. You have unlimited number of blogs, and blogs are free. People can go to Airbnb to find out the best places to stay, and then Oaxaca.com. And then you have a completely free service, the Ministry of Tourism, which has a tourist office downtown Oaxaca that you can visit for free. So of course I need to be concerned about, anytime someone's offering a free service, you need to make sure you're bringing more value than them. So that's kind of overview of the different competition. And from there, I can define what dimensions kind of stood out to me that might be useful when considering my methods of differentiation. So some of the dimensions that I started to note down as I went through those competitors were user friendliness, whether it's more information based or if it's actually a service where they tell you how to use it and you can book it, or they offer insurance or guarantees or peer reviews. The price of activities that they're targeting, are they free or are they expensive? Time to consume the information, blogs, you have tons of blogs you need to go to and you need to do a lot of reading. The number of options they're offering, are they giving you every option within a category, or are they saying, hey, these are the best options, don't worry about the other ones? Are they offering any cool deals or discounts, kind of like a Groupon model? Are they focused on casual activities like here's a museum you can go to, here is a walking tour? Or are they focused on activities that are very intensive, time consuming, you have to travel to them, and they cost money? And lastly, is it a one-stop shop? Do they kind of give you information about restaurants, lodging, transportation, everything? Or do they hyper-focus on one segment of what a tourist needs in order to go about their trip? Now later on I would populate the column for myself, but at the time I made this matrix, this column was not here. So after I completed this matrix, I thought, okay, where are the areas I can focus on that kind of lend themselves to an opportunity to differentiate myself? Number of options. I thought this is one place I can differentiate myself because a lot of the major players offer tons of options and it's kind of information overload. None of them really seem to offer deals and discounts and hey, if you come into our restaurant, we'll give you a round of mezcal. And none of them really effectively used a one-stop shop. At least the ones that were a one-stop shop were information overload, or they didn't really have select number of options. So these were the three dimensions that I wanted to see. How could I kind of mold a product that would differentiate myself from the other competitors in terms of these dimensions? So now I was ready to go back to my target market. I fragmented the market, I divided it into segments. Now I need to choose what my target segment is. And I went through and I decided based on the competitors that were out there, I wanted to target US tourists that were English speaking, that were kind of these budget travelers that wanted a localized experience. They're typically younger single travelers. They use the internet. They were the do-it-yourself type, willing to take risks. And they really, just kind of want to chill and go to some nice restaurants, a few museums. They're not extremely activity oriented. And they're going to spend most of their time in the city. Maybe not all of it, but they're just really looking to walk around the city and check stuff out. Now, based on that, I wanted to kind of categorize two very important segments and kind of cluster some of that information into two dimensions. The first dimension I have is how price conscious the customer is. Are they willing to spend a lot of money and do all these extravagant restaurants and hotels and activities? Or are they pretty price savvy and on a budget? Secondly, are they really activity oriented, or are they more just city dwellers and they're going to go to restaurants and museums and stuff like that? And so I started looking at the competition where they fell in here. Now, Viator is very focused on the segment of customers that's willing to spend money, that want to do a ton of activities. That is very clear. Visit Mexico.com is very similar to that, but they do offer some free information and some costless attractions, so they're a little bit more vertical and right on the spectrum. And then Lonely Planet really covers the entire spectrum, so they're right in the middle. They have activities they offer, but they also have a lot of tips on what to do in the city for free. They have a lot of activities for free, so they're price conscious, but they also offer activities that are in the hundreds of dollars, so they cover the whole spectrum. And then TripAdvisor, they are very focused on city dwellers. They want to know the best museums, the best restaurants, the best hotels. They're not really all about rating different activities you can do in day trips. And then blogs, they're kind of an animal by themselves because there's so many different blogs and blogs focus on different things. You can't really put them into the spectrum. And this is where I want my product to focus on. Price conscious customers that are city dwellers, but we're still going to offer them a little bit of activity. They're not to the far right and they're not 100% vertical. They are right here. So now that I know my target customer and I figured out what segment of the market I'm focused on, and I've kind of analyzed the competition and saw where I can differentiate myself, it's time to define my value proposition. First of all, I want to be a one-stop shop for value-packed services. Nobody's doing this. I want to say, here are my 10 favorite Airbnbs or the 20 most value-packed Airbnbs. They're not going to empty your bank, but they're very nice and comfortable. Here's my favorite restaurants and street foods. here is most popular activities. Just maybe a couple of activities that are extremely popular. And here's all the information you need to know about transportation: how to get from the airport, how to rent a car, the different options for getting to the beach, the different options for getting to different day trips. So it's a one-stop shop. You have lodging, restaurants, activities, transportation. In addition to being a one-stop shop, I want to focus on not having information overkill. I want to have, here are my favorite, here are the best. So I want limited options, and then within those limited options, I want limited suppliers. So what I mean by that is I don't want to list every single activity that they can do in a 100-mile radius of Oaxaca. Here are the most popular kind of must-do activities. You should do a mezcal tour. You should see the ancient ruins. And you should, let's say, do a art tour. Of those very limited activities, here's a free option for, or a very cost-effective option for doing a mezcal tour. And here's kind of a more higher-end or full-service tour. So I keep it quite limited in what I offer them. And in addition to those two things, I wanted to get innovative and find ways to actually save them money. I would give them information for free on, hey, just do this city walking tour. Here's the map that you should follow. Here's the different destinations you should stop at. If you want to go to this site, you don't need to sign up for a tour. Hop in a taxi, tell them this is how much you should pay that taxi. And work with different restaurants and different Airbnb providers and different tours and different car rental places to say, hey, will you offer my exclusive audience some coupons? It's not going to cannibalize all the rest of their market. They're just going to offer a very small amount of their market discounts to draw them in. And then in the long term, I'd like to offer them a forum for sharing resources. If somebody's going to the beach, they could post, hey, I'm going to the beach on Friday. We have room for two more. So this would provide a unique way for saving money. So just to reframe, it's a one-stop shop. We select the best options, the most value-packed options, and we get away from information overload. And we also try to inject some different means of saving money so that we really tailor our travel platform to this budget, price-conscious traveler. And after I've done all this, I can define my avatar. My avatar is the US or European English-speaking person, typically between 20 and 30 years old. They travel a lot, and therefore they're not afraid to do it themselves. They'll use Airbnb and other sharing economy things like BlaBlaCar if they're in Europe. They enjoy walking around the city and casually getting drinks and food, and that's how they spend most of their day. They're willing to eat street food. They're on a budget, but they still want to experience some of the fine dining there, and they'll still spend a little bit of money on activities. They'll typically do one big activity or like one medium activity per day throughout their vacation, but it won't be overwhelmed with activities. And they participate in modern apps like Groupon, TripAdvisor. They read blogs, and they're typically traveling in a group of 2 to 4. So that is my target market customer. That's my customer avatar. I'll come back to this once I go through the business model a little more, but for now that's good enough. So real quick to review what we did for the Oaxaca Travel Platform Market Research 1. We started with market research overview just to gain some quick information, and then we went through and brainstormed all the different segments that exist in the tourism market, and we just knew that for now we only wanted US English, and we didn't know much more than that. We stepped back and took a look at the market size using Google keywords everywhere and discovered that it's about 1,000, 2,000 English-speaking tourists. Then we went into our competitor analysis where we looked at TripAdvisor, we looked at visitmexico.com, we looked at Lonely Planet, we looked at Viator, we looked at Oaxaca.com, we looked at getyourguide.com, we looked at this website here, we looked at Oaxaca Notes, Inspirac, and lastly, alittle.com. So about 10 competitors there. And then we took those competitors and we put them into what is our most direct competition, what's kind of a hybrid level of competition, and who are the indirect competition that we're going against. Once we knew our competition, we defined the competitor dimensions here, and we populated this matrix for the different competitors on the market, and that helped us identify 3 dimensions where we saw some opportunity for differentiation. Now that we kind of had an idea of where we might fit in amongst the customers, or amongst the competitors, we went back to our market segmentation, and then we decided exactly which segment of the market we were going to target. And then once we knew what we were going to target, we kind of summarized this in a 2x2 matrix, and we plotted the different competitors in this matrix, and we can see exactly where the gap is, where we can focus on, where currently there's not really a competitor focusing on the specific needs of this customer segment. And with that in mind, knowing exactly which customer segment we're going after, that helped us define our value proposition. And our value proposition consisted of a one-stop shop, getting away from information overload and saying, hey, here are the best options, and providing a means of saving money in some sort of Groupon-like format. With the value proposition and the customer segment targeted, we were able to define who our avatar was, and this is our avatar. Now the next step is, how do I make money? Especially as I'm going to offer the service, a lot of price-savvy options of how they can travel on the cheap. It's going to be very interesting in figuring out what is my method of making money for this idea I have. Because keep in mind, we don't just want to create value for the customer, we want to capture some of that value in terms of monetizing it. So we'll get into this in the following session. But for now, this gives you an overview of Market Research 1 from start to finish, kind of the process you need to go through in between, hey, I have this idea, and what exactly is that idea? And this is the process that bridges those 2 things. All right, see you in the next session.